You make me feel so young. You make me feel there were songs to be sung, bells to be rung, and a wonderful thing to be flung. And even when I'm old and gray, I'm gonna feel the way I do today. 'Cause you make me feel so young. You make me feel so young. You make me feel as if spring had sprung. And every time I see you grin, I'm such a happy individual. The moment that you speak, I wanna go play hide and seek. I wanna go and bounce the moon just like a toy balloon. Oh, you and I are just like a couple of tots, and we're running across the meadow.
Hi, everybody.
Picking up lots of...
Thank you all for coming here tonight. We really appreciate it that you've all traveled here. I think the majority of the people in this room have come from somewhere other than Charleston to be here. So thank you so much for making the effort and taking the time to be here. It really means a lot to our family that you've done that. I also want to thank my mom, Christy. She has been working on this for a really long time. And Mom, I think everybody would agree this is a beautiful event. You've done a wonderful job. And thank you so much for taking the time to pull this all together. It's lovely. So for those of y'all that don't know me, I'm Holly. I am David's eldest daughter, eldest of three, and mother to two of his three at present grandchildren. And whenever my mom started planning this a long time ago, I knew I would want to talk. I knew I'd want to say something because it's my dad. And so I knew I'd want to speak, but I really didn't give it a whole lot of thought until this past week because I thought this would be easy. And so I sat down on Monday and I kind of gathered my thoughts, and I have a process where I just write words and traits that I associate with the person I'm going to speak about. And very quickly, the list got very long, and I realized that this was not going to be easy for me because it's my dad. And to me, my father is one of the kindest, most loving, intelligent and quirky and fun, successful people that I know. Like that was this much of my long list. And so I was like, okay, I need to focus. And so I just kind of picked a word and I was like, I'm going to drill down on that one word. And why do I associate that with my dad? And so I picked the word successful and success. And so I was like, well, why do I associate that with him? And how do you measure success? And so I'm a dork and I looked it up. And the Oxford Dictionary actually defines success in part as being the attainment of wealth, prosperity, and fame. And I was like, well, that's not really why I picked that. That was not the correlation that I was trying to draw here. Maybe I need another word. But I went further in and I found this page that had quotes from people that are universally identified as as successful, and what their definition was. And in doing that, I realized that it's actually a super subjective term because it's based on what you value. So I thought I'd share some of those tonight and kind of draw some corollaries. Warren Buffett says that he measures success by how many people love me. and the extent to which he loves others and is loved back, which I thought was kind of appropriate because dad's a lover. I've had people tell me my whole life that they love my dad, and when they figure out who I am and who he is, and they draw the lines, they're like, "Oh, we love your dad," and then they'll tell you, even though you didn't ask why. And it's never because he was famous or had wealth or prosperity. I think it's largely because he takes a genuine interest in people, and he wants to know what's going on with you, and he cares about your position. And for my part, he's always been super present in my life. He's always been engaged, and whether it was waiting my boxcar for the Pinewood Derby so that I could have an unfair advantage, or when he was the chief of our Indian Princess tribe. Indian Princesses is this YMCA father-daughter thing. He was Chief Sitting Bull, was his title. But he's always been very engaged. I've never been the best at anything, but I've always been one of the most supported. And I don't think that just extends to me or my siblings even. I think it's pretty much anyone my dad is engaged with. The flip side is I also work for my father. He's my boss. So this can actually be a really irritating trait of his, because it doesn't matter what your schedule is, or if we have meetings, or if we have calls we have to take. If somebody shows up at the office that is a friend or even an acquaintance, he will take that call, he will make that time, regardless of whatever I've committed him to that day, because he really is very giving of himself. So I think it's a really endearing trait. He's also kind of a lover. I'm not sure how you've done in the Me Too movement, but he's a touchy-feely dude, and and he gives big bear hugs and scratchy beard kisses, and I just had these great memories of him doing these opera kisses with my mother in the kitchen, and we'd be so excited about it. And then he kept doing them, and I was in middle school, and then high school, and we're like, "Dad, stop it!" And somewhere along the way, he started calling it grubbing, which made it gross. So, but I think he kind of halfway did that with Bob Cranswick last night. They were just. So I just think he's a really affectionate person, and he's very candid with his love of other people, which I think people dig. Excuse me. Y'all gonna have to bear with me. Another quote that I found that I really liked was from Mark Cuban, who considers success waking up in the morning with a smile on your face, knowing that it's going to be a great day, and to greet the day with gratitude. Which, again, if you know my father, he's a really happy person, and he's very excitable from things that some people just tend to take for granted. And he loves life. He's very vivacious, and he tells these great jokes and has these great stories. He's a very good orator because he tells the same jokes over and over again. And even if you've heard them 5 times or 15 times, they're still funny the 15th time because he is laughing louder than anyone that heard the joke. And he's got this big, robust laugh that you can hear across the room or in the next room, and he just really, he cracks himself up. And then, that cracks you up. And he has a very good handle on the work-life balance. If I had $1 for every time we were told, no trailer hitch on the hearse, which is probably how this party started, was, no trailer hitch on the hearse. Or we got to play ball, we got to go on that hike, we got to take this trip, we got to do that thing. So he's just got a very, clear vision of what he appreciates in life, and he doesn't get caught in the minutia too much. Got a couple more. Bill Gates related success back to giving and changing lives and making a difference, raising good children, creating something, and helping people in need. Well, my whole life, I have been taught quiet lessons of gratitude, thanks, honor, and charity through watching my father live his own life. He is he's a dedicated and passionate businessman. He's driven by his love of work, but also the charities that our work introduces him to and the causes that they introduce it to. He's got a zeal for affordable housing that I think is unprecedented. I have never seen someone who could so seamlessly inject the term Tax Reform Act of 1986 into any conversation. Any. He can find a relevant spot for that. And I think he did it at my cousin's wedding, and I don't know how we got there. It was relevant. It was seamless, but it's because he geeks out on our work. And it's because he really cares about what he does. So I just, as I've grown older, the lessons that have been taught to me by my dad play like a loop in my mind. They heavily influence the way I raise my kids, the way I work, the way we play and pray. He's instilled dignity in me and character in both my siblings and myself that even though we may have strayed a few times, the bedrock was always there. So I'm going to close it out. And the last quote of all the quotes I read this week, which were a ton, was from Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I think it was my favorite. He said, "To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics, to appreciate beauty and find the best in others, to leave the world a little better, whether by a healthy child, garden patch, or redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to succeed." So, with that, Dad, I think you met Mr. Emerson, Mr. Buffett, Mr. Cuban, and Mr. Gates' definition of success. You have certainly met mine. And anyway, to my dad, a great American.
I'm so excited to follow that. Jesus, Holly. So this is written on the back of a receipt, but it's fine. Okay, Daddy, I love you so much. From letting me take your man pants to sleep in, to doing this nose cup that upsets you so much, to getting lost on a train in Budapest, through all of the major heartbreaks for me and Holly and David, and moving to New York and Singapore and Greenville and back, and of course, teaching us the importance of geodes and stalactites versus stalagmites. One hangs from the top, one grows from the bottom. T in tights means top, right, Daddy? There it is. There's also the trips that you said were mandatory to make us well-rounded. Europe, Africa, Turkey, the Galapagos. The Griswold family even made it to France. How do I summarize my dad and an amazing 34 years of memories with you? Because if I start to think about it, you're not just my dad. You're a brother and an uncle and a grandfather and a friend, a cousin and a business partner and a manager. However, I thought of a lot of other things that you are. You're a historian, especially for South Carolina state history as well as Civil War history. A geologist. Anybody that knows my dad knows that he knows rocks better than anybody knows rocks. You're a hunter and a conservationist, a horticulturist and a collector, a traveler and an outdoorsman, a philanthropist, a developer, and a marksman. Most of all, though, you are the most benevolent, generous, incredible, and loving man who I could ever hope to be my dad. I've never felt more lucky in my entire life other than when, I guess, I mean, he'll do, but but Dad, there's truly no comparison. I love you more than the world, and if anybody in this room is here to testify, it's that you are the best, greatest American anybody has ever seen. And I'll turn it over to Taylor Elizabeth Powell to finish it up.
So I think it's a tribute that so many people are here to celebrate the man of many nicknames. His grandkids call him Nunu. Many of us call him Big Dave. Some of us call him Davo. Some of us call him other things we can't repeat until we've had a few more drinks. But the nickname that I think encompasses him more than anything I don't know who coined it, but Bob Cranswick told it to me, is the benevolent dictator. I think that captures Big Dave. So I'll tell you a few of my stories about him. And in the words of Larry Hyman, who's on the front row, I started sniffing around these holiday women in about 2007. And finally, in 2011, I got the guts to ask Big Dave for his blessing to ask Russell to marry me. And can you believe he tried to talk me out of it? He told me, he said, listen, Taylor, I got to tell you something. These holiday women, they're unique. They're crazy. They're wonderful. But, they can also be a little bit of a bitch. And then it hit him. He looked his head, turned his head to his side like one of his black labs. He put his finger in the air and he said, you know what? These holiday women, they're wonderful bitches. So in 2013, I officially became a member of the family, and I married one of these wonderful bitches. And as a son-in-law and a member of the family, I've learned a few do's and don'ts of being a member of Big Dave's family. Do accept an invite anytime he invites you to a social gathering, a trip, a hunt, or to travel. Do not let him plan it. Don't let him make your travel plans. Don't let him pack your suitcase. There's that time he landed in Rochester, New York when he had a doctor's appointment in Rochester, Minnesota. There was that time he was so kind to take myself and my two brother-in-laws down to Costa Rica on a great trip to go fishing, and only to be turned away by an armed guard at customs in Costa Rica because his passport wasn't valid for long enough. So the man has great intentions, but the planning part, other people need to step in and handle.
Thank you, Jackie.
But she's here too. Thank you, Jackie. But as Russell and I were trying to come up with the perfect toast, I realized that it had already been given. And it's to somebody much, 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 much older than I, and much older than Dave, and much wiser than all of us. And he's in the room tonight too, Skeets Bellamy. This was Skeets' toast to Big Dave at his birthday in Galvin's Ferry at a dove hunt 3 years ago. Skeets said, throughout the years, I've gotten to know him, and the thing that touched me so much about him is this. There's an innocuous situation where he came up to somebody who meant nothing for him, good or bad, and Big David hugged him. He treats everyone with respect and love. Ever since I've known him, every time I see him, he comes up and hugs me. You can't shake the man's hand. He just grabs you and he brings you in. And I would say to y'all, isn't that special? A guy like that comes along and does something and it makes a difference, turns us around, makes us feel better. And this is Skeets' quote, but I think it can apply to most of us. Even though we went to North Carolina, I told my friends, is there a better person that's company beyond David Douglas? He's made all of us feel good, and the thing that I would hope that he would know tonight is that a lot of people love you. So everybody raise a glass to the big man.
I'm pretty close to the back of a receipt. I was supposed to have the day to work on this, but then my wife and children and sisters and nieces and everybody showed up when I had this nice Folly Beach day planned. And so, David, this is from the Indigo Inn from just a little while ago. But I was thinking, what is it when I think of David Douglas? And I'm Drew Schomber. I'm married to his oldest daughter. I've been fortunate enough that I actually get to work with David, so I kind of snuck in. He kind of had to accept me. I came in, and I've probably known him for 10 years, which out of most of the folks in this room, I imagine I've probably known him for the least amount of time. But if you have picked up the phone and called David and asked him, hey, how are you doing today? His answer is better than I deserve. And as I was thinking today about David and what is it about him, it was better than I deserve. Imagine living every day, and he does it with that motto. I don't. I mean, I busted my butt today. I deserve better than whatever I got. And so, I mean, he's thankful for the things he already has, which is really unique. And on the work front, he never gets worked up. He doesn't get stressed out. Brad, who works with us years ago, told me David could walk through a minefield and just cool as a cucumber as things are blowing up all around him. And I started thinking about it. I was like, how is that David can do that? And there's a movie or a documentary, or was it Free Solo, which I'm sure a bunch of y'all have seen, the crazy guy who climbs with no ropes. And in the documentary, they do a thing where they study his brain. Somehow they put up fearful things that should scare you and should spook you, and it doesn't. And whatever's in this guy's brain does not trigger during these sketchy events. So they figure that's how he can be on a no rope 2,000 feet above. So I started thinking if we tested David's brain, now it probably shows some things and some other things, but the difference with David, there are a lot of people, we all know people who live a life, they're very thankful, they have gratitude, but the joyfulness that you have, the fullness of life in tandem with this gratitude is very unique. Not many people know someone who possesses both of those traits. And in thinking through, see my notes, cat with 9 lives, thinking through, how is it that David, all the things he's done, if we were to take a show of hands here for how many events David has been through when he should not have walked away from it, it would be more than 9. I mean, whether motorcycles over railroad tracks or boats blowing up, there's some reason, God has some reason for David to still be here. Every single person. So why is David still here? And it's because this room is so full of people that he has impacted and that he has touched. And had the motorcycle railroad incident you not walked away from, this room would be a lot smaller. But these are people whose lives you've impacted, and this is the reason you're here. And you've done it while having the time of your life and the time of their lives. And you can't say that about a lot of people. So I am better than I deserve for being a part of your life, and I think all of us in this room are better than we deserve. So cheers to David. Happy birthday.
All right, no fear. Hi, I'm David Douglas Jr. My father's birthday party. We're happy you all be here. Got some notes here. So here's the deal. My mother's name is Christian, and I think that predilects her a little bit to be a Christian. My name is David Douglas, and the same as my father's, which I have to admit affects me as well. We have the same name. I have a lot to live up to. When I'm faced with difficult decisions, I very often think, what would my dad do? My grandfather, John Douglas, died when my dad was just 21, taking with him what I'm sure was a vast repository of unshared life experiences and wisdom. So I have to say that I've been blessed to know my father during some of the most formative years of my adult life. I'm blessed to be able to seek not just his counsel, which I value above almost anybody else. I'm able to learn from his example, from his actions. My dad treats people well. His wife, his family, his employees, his friends. He's honest. If my dad agrees to something, he's going to do it. And he's fun, telling the truth while still making everybody laugh. And though I don't now follow in his steps in the world of real estate, I will always follow in his spirit of integrity, wit, kindness, and love. Now, everyone, please raise your glass to Big Dave, a good man no matter what they say. Oh, and we now start the happy birthday. So, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear David. Happy birthday to you. Woo!
Hey, everybody. David wants to say a few words.
Hello, hello, hello. The first thing I can tell you is I had no knowledge of what they were going to say and that they were going to say anything, but I am hammered by it. That's wonderful. The second thing I want to say is how much I appreciate all you folks taking the time and the trouble to travel from hundreds of miles away or short distance away, but just to be here. I'm so appreciative of it. My wife, Christy, put all this together, and I said, this, really, I mean, anyway, I'm so grateful for the whole experience, and I'm glad y'all are here. I think we're going to have a wonderful time, and I do love y'all all, or you wouldn't be here. Sorry, back telling the truth. Anyway, but I'm very happy y'all are here. I hope y'all have a wonderful evening. And we're all blessed, truly blessed, and God is good, and y'all have a wonderful evening. And thank you so much for coming.
I feel good. She said I knew that I would now. I feel good. Get it, Jane. I said I knew that I would. Oh, yeah. So good, so good. I got you. I feel nice, like a sugar spice. Well, I feel nice, like a sugar and spice. All right, so nice, so nice. I got you to the bread now. Hey, hey. Ah, when I hold you in my arms, you know my love can do you no wrong. When I hold you in my arms, love can't do you no wrong. And I feel good. I said I knew that I would now. I feel good. I said I knew that I would. All right. So good, so good. I got you. Give me some guitar now.